All right, good morning. I want to welcome everyone to the latest installment of 15-Minute Career Intelligence. And so, once again, I have a couple of professionals from the sports industry who've agreed to take time out of their schedules to share some insights and lessons learned from their respective career journeys. And so, this morning we have Sana Merchant Rupani, who's the Director of Club Social Strategy for the National Football League. And then next we have Ben Bolch, who's a UCLA beat writer for the Los Angeles Times. And I have to say that Ben and I go back a little bit. He's been very supportive of my efforts to better acquaint high school and college students with careers in sports. So thank you, Ben, for all your support. And certainly, Sana, thank you for being, as a new contact, for being available to continue to help me continue to support my efforts here. So, so I wanted to ask you all just to start off by sharing just briefly what your role is and just your key responsibilities. And so, Sana, we'll go ahead and start with you.
Okay, so as you know, you mentioned, I am the director of club social strategy at the NFL. So what does that essentially mean? So I am part of our marketing team, and we work with all 32 of our clubs on everything social. So that includes providing day-to-day reporting, monthly, annual, ad hoc. You know, when things are happening, how does that benchmark against other things they've done in the past? How does that benchmark against our competitors? We also work with the clubs on strategizing. Okay, if this is your goal, how do we get you there? It's almost like being a consultant in-house. We also work internally with our different departments to make sure that our clubs are included in not just our key initiatives, but also when we are sitting at the table making a deal with Facebook or Twitter, or Snap, how are clubs thought about and what resource can we provide them with? So that's part of what my team works on. And then just giving clubs guidance, usually, best practices around tentpole events on content, ideas, and thought starters, and just making sure that they are prepared to keep connecting our fans to the sport that they love.
Great, thanks for sharing, Sana. And it never ceases to amaze me the number of jobs that there are, the number of careers and types of jobs there are, including in sports. So Ben, yes. So Ben, how about you? Quick intro about your.
Yeah, so I'm the UCLA beat writer for the LA Times, and what that involves basically is covering all aspects of their athletic department. And man, there's a lot going on right now.
Oh, I'm sure.
But I spend probably about 90% of my time on football and men's basketball, and then the rest, other sports. I mean, UCLA has a wealth of national championship sports across the board. So when they get in the playoffs and compete for championships, I'll try to kind of hop in and do as much as I can there. But I believe it's 25 sports, so it's a lot to cover. I also cover the kind of nuts and bolts of the athletic department and all the things that they're going through. Like right now they're facing budget deficits, and Under Armour just backed out of their record deal with UCLA. That was a big story over a month ago. So basically any sports news that relates to UCLA, that's my responsibility.
Okay, great. Thanks for those intros. So as each of you have moved through your respective career journeys, there have been some high moments, I'm sure, and maybe some bumps in the road. So can you share any key lessons you've learned from your respective career journeys? And Sana, we'll go to you.
Yeah, I think the biggest, there's two lessons I would say I've learned. And starting with, you got to mind the details. Every little detail counts. If you are applying for a job, triple check your resume, right? If you are turning an assignment to your boss, triple check it. All the details add up, and they really speak volumes about the quality of your work. And I've learned over time that that's a huge responsibility. So that's a big thing. And then also from my journey, I've learned sports is really competitive, right? I mean, every industry is, but sports especially. So don't get disheartened. If you apply to 4 places and you don't hear back, that's okay. You gotta keep applying and finding the right fit and keep hustling. You can't let yourself fall down and not get back up. When I applied to my current job, I think there were like 40 different openings I applied to initially, like when I was looking for a new job. And this kind of was one that I didn't even think I could get. And like, here I am 5 years later. So again, don't discount yourself. make sure that you are hustling and minding the details and continuing to push forward even in like adversity and saying, oh my gosh, I didn't get that job versus like, okay, what do I do next?
Great, thank you. And I appreciate that, not being disheartened and moving
Yeah.
on, especially during a time like this when it's even more competitive with COVID and just the impacts it's had on our workforces. So
Yep, exactly.
great. So Ben, how about you?
Yeah, I wanted to dovetail off that for a second about not getting discouraged. When I first applied to the LA Times in 1999, I called after sending in my resume, and I was told, "Oh, great, we got it. We'll add it to the pile of 800 we have." So I thought, "Oh, I'll never hear from these people again." But you know what? I sent a follow-up letter, and then one day out of the blue, I got a phone call from the sports editor back when we had an Orange County edition.
Mm.
He said, I'm really interested in your work. Let's go to lunch. So you just never know what's going to happen, and it's important not to give up. But what I was going to say also are two things that sound like common sense, but they're really just indispensable, and it's hard work and a good attitude. A good attitude can take you so far.
Mhm.
I remember when I was first starting out, I was working at the Orange County Register. We had a lot of drudgery type assignments. We would answer the phone and people would give us what are called fish counts, which are basically the number of fish caught at a certain pier somewhere in Southern California. And it's like, wait, I want to cover the Lakers and the Dodgers. Why am I talking to somebody about how many lingcod they caught today? So, it's kind of like staying with it and having a good attitude. And then, the hard work aspect. I mean, that will never go wrong if you put in the time and really commit to doing everything you can. I know that sounds like a cliche, but you'd be surprised how easy it is to try to take shortcuts or not make the extra phone call, or put in the extra hour to maybe reread a story and say, how can this be better? So those are two things I would say that I would recommend as really important lessons.
Yeah, it's funny. There's some things that are considered cliches or sage advice, but you can never hear them enough or never say them enough sometimes. So great. Thank you for sharing that. All right. So wanted to next find out any individuals, maybe one or two people who have influenced your career journey. And so Sana, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So my previous boss, I switched teams about a year ago internally. And prior to that, I was working for my previous boss for about 4 years. She's the one that hired me and took a chance on me. And, she was and to this day we're friends, but she was a strong female role model. She gave me the opportunity. But what really stood out about her was that not only was she a strong manager, but she was a strong leader and a motivator. And not all managers are motivators, right? So she really mastered that and taught me how to not only be better at what I do. She was always willing to take 5 minutes and give feedback on, this can be better this way, or this can be improved this way. What do you think about this? And she taught me how to manage so that I can be better and pay it forward when I manage folks. So she's really influenced my career in more ways than one, not just about teaching me the business of sports, but also teaching me how to be a better leader and motivator and someone I want to work for.
Cool. Hey, Ben, how about you?
I'm going to go with one of my coworkers, Dylan Hernandez, who's now a columnist at the LA Times for sports. And the big thing he does for me is he gives me great guidance, but he really listens. I think you really need somebody to listen to the challenges that you're confronted with and what you want to do. And that's when the guidance comes in. But a lot of times, you'll call somebody and they'll just make a snap judgment. But I think what Dylan does really well is he listens and really kind of takes it in and really kind of processes it in a way that's been very helpful. I think everybody at an organization needs as many of those people as you can get, and they're really valuable and really hard to find people who will do that for you. And he's kind of been that person for me.
Great point. Thank you. Yeah, I don't think we can have too many people who are willing to authentically, genuinely listen to what we have to say, and just so it informs how we're able to support us. All right. So next, I wanted to ask you, just in your career journeys, and Ben, I know you've been at it for quite some time. Can you share a defining or very memorable moment from your career? And Sana, we'll go back to you.
Yeah. So one was my pre-sports life. I used to work in the public relations department at the Empire State Building. So, just anytime you do something for the first time, it really just kind of is something that stays with you forever. So I remember the first time we did a light show for the building, that's really stayed with me because of the work that goes into it. At one point for the Mustang's anniversary, we put a Ford Mustang on the 86th floor observation deck. So getting it up 86 stories was just one that I'll always remember. And then in the last 5 years at the NFL, I would say my first Super Bowl, right? So the first Super Bowl right after I started in 2015. It was Super Bowl 50 where the Broncos won. And it was just one of those things that was a pinch me moment, right? Because people define their passions by sports, right? It's the first thing that they make their kids wear when they're born, or you get tattoos of your favorite team. So to kind of see that come to life in such a culmination, I think is definitely something I'm going to remember always.
Cool. And Ben, how about you?
I'm going to share kind of an awkward moment. I'd been at the LA Times probably 2 or 3 years, and most people who follow sports in Southern California know who TJ Simers is, our
Oh, yes.
columnist who had kind of a gruff reputation. And he fully unleashed it on me one day. I was covering the Dodgers, and we had just had a media scrum, and he basically said, you ask like easy questions, you don't challenge anybody, what good are you basically? And it basically, I was like, wow. I felt about this big for a couple of days, but that wasn't all he said, but I think the gist of it was you need to examine the way you operate and think about other trajectories or ways of interacting with people. And it really has stuck with me because, not to say I've become, TJ Simers, but I feel like he made me think about interacting with players and coaches and managers in a different way. Challenging them in a way that I hadn't previously. So that was kind of a turning point for me that I'll always go back to.
Great. Thank you both for sharing. Yeah, sometimes those tough moments are the ones that, make us better, as long as they don't break us. Sure. All right. So we're wrapping up. So just a couple quick questions I'm going to ask you both. So the two-parter. So number one, if you could share something that you think people should know about you. And then finally, any final bits of career advice for students or other job seekers. And so Sana, we'll start with you.
So what people should know about me. So my parents and I moved here when I was 9 years old. I was born in Mumbai, India, and, immigrated from there. But I come from a very traditional Indian family. Most of my dad's brothers are doctors, and my grandma has 10 grandkids, and like 9 are doctors or nurses. So it was very hard to kind of push for why I was getting a degree in communications. But I think once I learned what my passion was and what I wanted to do, I pushed hard for it. And I think a lot of times that's hard to do, and you kind of feel like you have a preset career that you're going to go into. But so diving into your second question, you don't have to do that, right? Like in college, I think I changed my major 2 or 3 times at least, and not like from bio to chemistry. It was very different. It was from pre-med to business to communications. So take the time to figure out what you want to do and what drives you, right? You spend a lot of your time at work, make sure you're passionate about it. And then I think my biggest piece of advice would be sports is always changing. So you have to make a serious commitment to never stop learning, right? Technology is changing everything. COVID is a prime example. We're doing this over Zoom. So whatever your job is will be very different 5 or 10 years from now, right? Whatever you are learning, it's going to keep evolving. So you have to keep up and keep telling yourself that you're going to learn and commit to that. And then the second thing I would say is that your skill set is much more valuable than anything else, right? One of the coordinators that works on my team currently, her previous job was in the in like home development and tools and such, but she knew how to work a spreadsheet and take numbers and find the analytics and tell the story from it. So that to me is so much more important than somebody that's coming from sports and doesn't really understand what to do. So your skill set is the most valuable thing you have. So keep learning, keep adding to it, and keep developing, and don't ever, feel like you have to stop learning.
Great advice, and definitely kudos to you for just finding your own road into the career that you're passionate about.
Yeah,
All right.
no, I appreciate.
All right, Ben, what is something that people should know about you, and what final advice do you have for our audience?
My dream is actually to write about wine, believe it or not. I'm a huge a wine, I'm a huge wine, and that hasn't always been the case. It's and been in the past 10 to 15 years. I've really gotten into wine. In fact, I've tried to kind of blend that with sports. There's a lot of sports figures who have their own wine, and I talked to Dave Roberts. He's got a nice label called Red Stitch. So I always try to work that into my writing and just conversations whenever I can, just because I enjoy it. And that kind of goes along with my advice. It's just to make sure that you are pursuing your passion, because I think that got me through a lot of hard times, particularly early in my career, where I was questioning, like, I don't know if this is worth it. Is this really, what I want to do? But, I still love sports so much that I knew that if I just stayed with it, there would be a payoff. And I got to that place. So I would say, if it's something that you're passionate about, stick with it and don't give up too soon, because I've seen a lot of people give up and get discouraged, and I think that they had a lot of potential that could have blossomed into great careers. So stick with it and really give it a shot.
Great. Well, thank you, Ben and Sana, for this wonderful advice, and once again for taking time out to spend with me too. So appreciate you both, and wish you continued success in your respective careers.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Okay, certainly.